Welcome to Wrasslin Raw! Alright, you're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when Raw became war and Attitude ruled. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
Just sitting here with you two putrid pussies.
You better bleep that.
Joe Giammatteo.
Who wouldn't want to kiss Mark Henry?
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett. We're going to examine WWE history, one episode of Raw is War at a time. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about a Raw that was recorded on Saturday, August 31st, 1998. And the dates are a little wonky on this because Raw was getting preempted by the US Open at the time. So even though this was recorded on Saturday, August 31st, 1998, it didn't air until Monday, September 5th, 1998. So please just be aware of that if you're looking into watching this episode. This Raw was recorded at the New Haven Coliseum in New Haven, Connecticut, and features Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then. Let's get into it. We kicked this episode off with a still shot review of the events of SummerSlam, the way that the main event played out, Austin retaining the WWF title. And once the proper intro was over, a gracious female fan in the audience had shoved a couple of glow sticks into an X configuration in her cleavage. X marks the target, boys, for a nice zoom in so she could shake them there for the camera. Great way to kick off the episode here.
Manager of the building will be asking them to stop that.
She answered the advertisement.
She did.
In the newspaper.
Couple people did, it seems like, in this episode. But before we got too happy checking her out, Vince McMahon came down to the ring to a chorus of boos, and his smile was almost as wide as his grapefruit strut. Vince let us know that there is a plan in motion such that by the end of the next pay-per-view breakdown, Stone Cold Steve Austin will no longer be the WWF champion. Vince was in great form here, telling the story and working the crowd at the same time. He was a lot looser in his storytelling here than he has been in the past. He was allowing some pauses for crowd noise, talking back to the crowd here and there. You can tell he's really starting to work himself up into the McMahon character, even more so than he has already. I popped when Vince called The Undertaker a damned fool, but then I also popped again when Vince called Kane retarded. Not a good word to be using anymore, and I am quoting here, but man, that took me back. Those mental health slurs of the 90s.
Rampant.
I then popped again when I saw a crowd sign that said Salvatore Bellomo for life. God, I want a shirt that says that. Sal Bellomo, for anybody out there that knows, a mainstay of very, very early ECW, one of the weirdest fucking characters you'll ever watch.
Not to be confused with Sal Sincere.
No, Sal Bellomo was light years better than Sal Sincere. But then the situation came to a head when Vince called Undertaker and Kane putrid pussies, which drew out both of them to chase Vince through the crowd and end the segment. So, gentlemen, we had some great Vince McMahon here, once again relishing in that storyteller role to set up our bullet points for the evening. Joe, what'd you think of the way we kicked things off here?
I thought it was a good promo by Mr. McMahon. It was really getting the crowd to hate him, which is what he does best. The only thing that was a little confusing was the beginning, because the pay-per-view, Stone Cold Steve Austin won the match clean against The Undertaker. He's still the champion, but Vince is coming out here all with a shit-eating grin on his face, so I was a little confused. I thought, what's going on here? And of course he reveals that he's got some master plan for the next pay-per-view, we're assuming. I'm not sure if he actually said that or not, but I really loved it when he called out Kane and Undertaker, and Kane and Undertaker start walking down and Vince escapes through the crowd, which made me pop. Just hopping over that barrier and running through the crowd was a pretty funny sight to see. So great opening promo by the greatest heel character of all time.
Yeah, I completely agree. This was a great job by Mr. McMahon. He came down, he got the fans in the mood that they wanted them to. They were all booing him. I'm surprised they didn't start throwing stuff in the ring when he called the two brothers putrid pussies. It was a great way to just set everything up. The Undertaker and Kane come out immediately. They must have been waiting in the gorilla position when he said putrid pussies, and they just immediately came out. And I too loved Vince hightailing it through the crowd and then having Kane and the Undertaker follow him through the crowd. All of it worked, and a great way to start off Raw, I thought.
Yeah, agreed. It really set the mood for the evening and the way that things would continue. Let's go now into our first match of the night. Ken Shamrock and Steve Blackman versus DOA with Paul Ellering ends in a no contest in 2 minutes. I really didn't want to spend any time on this at all, but with Ken Shamrock and Steve Blackman in the mix, I owe it to them to try to put in a little effort on this. But not too long after I had made that decision, Undertaker and Kane appeared to attack whoever was in the ring. In this case, it was Steve Blackman that was unlucky enough to be stuck there, while DOA was working on Kenny at the outside before running away. And that's it, really. 2 minutes, no contest. It seems like we're going to be getting Kane and the Undertaker showing up at inopportune times throughout the evening to muck things up. And I think what I'm going to do here is call this a setup match, because it wasn't so much about the match or the people in it, so much as setting up or maintaining the story that we've got going on through the episode. And at this point, I had a pretty strong feeling that we're going to get quite a few setup matches tonight. Joe, what did you have on this?
Yeah, I agree. This is, you can tell it's going to be one of those nights where Kane and Undertaker are going to be making surprise appearances, and this is one of them. So there's
going to
really
be a few DQs tonight.
Yeah, there's really not much to say. Just WWF should be doing this with Kane and Undertaker, really. They need to. They're the Brothers of Destruction. They're not called that yet, but that's what they need to look like. They need to look like they can destroy everybody. So that's what they're doing, and that is well done, I think.
The match I was not interested in the moment I saw DOA step onto the ramp. Shamrock and Blackman being the other team, you at least want them to look good in there, but the DOA was always going to bring it down. I really can't wait until these two Nazi fuck douchebag motherfuckers get the hell out of the WWF. I really am just sick and tired of seeing them in the ring because they suck and they're Nazi fucks. They just need to be gone. But thankfully, we didn't have to endure this long. The Undertaker and Kane come out, and Joe, you said Brothers of Destruction. JR uses that term once or twice tonight.
Did he?
And I think the first time here.
Yeah, I missed it.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's an official name for them, but JR called them the Brothers of Destruction on at least 2 occasions tonight.
Yeah, I missed that too.
And to me, that was the highlight. JR using the term Brothers of Destruction. What else could be? It's certainly not the ring work here.
Yeah, enough said about that. It's going to be a theme, again, throughout the night that Kane and The Undertaker are going to be the highlights of some matches here, none of which they are actually scheduled in. So, all right, let's keep it moving, because I popped my ass off when we went to the Dave Hebner cam. Prowling around inside a restroom, peeking through the cracks of a closed toilet stall. And when it looked up under the door of one of those stalls, we got a view from the knees down of what sounded like Val Venus having sex with someone. Degenerates.
Just railing some woman in a toilet stall.
Yeah.
A public stall.
God. We also got a review of Vince's earlier activity, as well as Vince talking Mankind into defending the tag team championships. So they're really starting to pile on that whole Vince is a despicable human being angle here. We also have no idea where Mankind has been since that match. He's apparently a changed man since getting 43 concussions in that makeshift hardcore match. Who would have thought that would be possible, but here we are.
Pretty shocking he's still alive after Kane hit him in the face with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, we can forgive him a little bit of me time after that. But things moving quickly here. We went into our next match. Val Venus versus Vader ends in a no contest in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And first things first, before we talk about the match, we have not had a check-in from Vader lately. So, Ryan, would you just do me a favor and check the official 10-10-3-2-1 answering machine of Wrasslin Raw to see if Vader has left us a message?
Yep. Let me put my code in and I'll get it out here. Let's see. Oh, well, looks like we're in luck.
Maybe Vader time's over. I'm nothing but a big piece of shit. A big fat piece of shit.
Even on the night we're told you lost 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might not think that anymore after dropping all that weight. Although he has a ways to go.
He just left that voicemail, though.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe those therapists at the fat camp that he's at are really doing a number on his psyche, and he's just always going to be down about his weight from now on, thinking that he's a fat piece of shit regardless of how much weight he loses.
Sounds like great therapy.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case, but I anticipate having more of those types of messages left for us in the future whenever we see Vader on our screens, and I look forward to them, honestly.
Damn shame.
So we got a view of Dustin Runnels walking through the crowd with a "He's coming back" sign, and I popped for that. It was good to see. Things in the ring, though, were looking sloppy as hell as Val tried to lead Vader through the match. It didn't look good. I did like how dramatically Val sold the elbow to the crotch. I mean, it's the man's livelihood there. But then Bradshaw showed up. I guess he has beef with Vader since that tag team match that they were in together in the heat prior to SummerSlam. I don't know. But
since he got knocked out cold,
he's still punch drunk.
13 seconds.
He's still just wandering around punch drunk. But Bradshaw was very quickly followed out by the Undertaker and Kane, who drew the no contest. So, once again, a setup match here, guys, which so far has made it easier for me to ignore the shittier aspects of things. I really appreciate that. Kane and The Undertaker were a nice distraction away from DOA in the last match. They were a good distraction away from Vader here. So, Ryan, what'd you think of it?
Similar to what you're saying, there's not a ton to really talk about because before you could get too upset over Vader stinking up the ring here, it's DQ time and everything's over. One thing I will point out is I'm not sure I understood the point of Bradshaw coming out because so quickly his interruption was interrupted by Kane and The Undertaker. It almost felt like, what was the point of even having him come out here? But the highlight again, Undertaker and Kane shortening this match down and making it palatable.
Yeah, I thought the same about Bradshaw getting in the ring there and going after Vader. Who would actually be afraid of Bradshaw right now anyway after...
Yeah, you got to give it a couple weeks.
Yeah. So, but I guess there was an explanation on that, like Bartlett, like you said. I guess they mentioned that tag team match that nobody remembers or cares about, but I don't know. I guess, again, it was just a setup, like you said, to get Kane and Undertaker in there again to destroy people.
Yeah. Again, the theme of the night here. So we'll keep it going to Michael Cole.
There's someone they could destroy.
He was back there with Mark Henry and The Rock. And The Rock cut a great promo here. Short but sweet. He got in all of his lines, and it was a very forward-moving Rock promo. I'm really looking forward to getting more and more of The Rock as we move forward. But that took us into our next match. The Nation, this is Rock and Mark Henry, defeat the New Age Outlaws by disqualification in 7 minutes, with the New Age Outlaws retaining the WWF Tag Team Championship as a result. The Outlaws cut a great promo backstage before coming out, and the crowd was really ready for them there. And I was sitting back and enjoying this, up through the point that Mark Henry first got tagged in. And damn, he looked great in his opening sequence in this match. Mark Henry made everything that he did look super powered and super strong, and the Road Dogg really did a great job of selling it that way for him. I'm not sure that really worked with Billy Gunn, just Billy Gunn looking the way he does and being as strong as he he is, but if you want to make Mark Henry look like a real monster here, the best thing to do is put him in there with the Road Dogg, who is probably half his size, both in muscle mass and weight, and just shake him around. That whole vibe continued when Mark Henry got the Road Dogg in a bear hug, and I've said it before, but Mark Henry is one of the few people that can make a bear hug look legit. And what drew the DQ here was Chyna rushing the ring to spear and then pummel Mark Henry. She looked great as far as like her look goes, but I'm not sure this was really the best way to go about things, because as good as she does look, the spear against Mark Henry wasn't quite believable, and it would have been pretty decent looking against probably almost anybody else except for Mark Henry, at least anybody closer to Chyna's size. But this, I felt like it would have been better with maybe some brass knucks or something to level the playing field. But overall, I thought this was a great match, and I really thought that despite what I said about Chyna, everybody came out of it looking good. Joe, what'd you think of it?
Well, we'll start with the promos. I noticed that Michael Cole, when he was with The Rock and Mark Henry, that The Rock did not even let Mark Henry talk. He took over that whole promo, which makes me think, are these guys maybe going to split soon? Are we building to that? Who knows? But I did notice that, so maybe just a little seed planting there. And seeing the New Age Outlaws shove Michael Cole out of the way like the pipsqueak that he is and just take the mic and cut their promo was really nice to see as well. And then for the match, I thought it was pretty good. I agree with everything you said as far as Mark Henry and his work and Road Dogg. I will say I disagree about the believability with Chyna attacking Mark Henry, and I think the only reason why I think that is because of all of the shit with Sable that we've seen lately is just so fake that this Chyna angle is more believable to me because of all that bullshit. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's just nice to see one of the ladies on the roster who actually looks like they could beat somebody up actually do that. So also this blowing kisses at each other between Chyna and Mark Henry was pretty exciting to see, because if I remember correctly, didn't they have some sort of love story angle going at some point? I believe that may have led to the sexual chocolate character, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So that's pretty exciting to see. That's where we're headed. Again, planting seeds here on some long-term storytelling.
Yeah.
I, too, want to go back to the promos, and my favorite part was when The Rock told Michael Cole that he was going to knock that $10 toupee off his head. I thought that was a great line from The Rock, and The Rock did a fantastic job in that promo just in general. And then also the Outlaws, when they did their promo, just immediately shoving Michael Cole out of the frame, that brought a smile to my face, too. I'm in agreement with the match, though. A lot of good action. The Rock, of course, he always looks great. Billy Gunn, the Road Dogg, we've been singing their praises for a while now. But Bartlett, you brought it up first. Mark Henry, he's really been getting better and better in the ring as we've seen him. He was a little green a few months ago, and it's just getting better and better all the time. And I thought he did a really great job in this match. But I am definitely in Bartlett's corner about the believability at the end. It kind of took me out of it because he's 420 pounds. Like, I understand she's jacked to the max, juice fucking coming out of every pore of her body, but I understand putting her against a man. You want to make it seem like she could take on men. That's fine. Just don't pick the biggest, strongest guy you have in your locker room and expect it to be believable that she could spear him without breaking her neck trying. The mismatch between sizes there is just too strong. Pick someone else that isn't Mark Henry. But outside of the size difference, I thought it was a great tag team match and one of the few actual, we still got shenanigans, but it felt like a full-length match.
Yeah, agreed. And that's something that we're only going to have, I want to say, 3 of. There's a lot of matches in this card tonight, most of them ending in no contest because of the Kane Undertaker thing going on. But yeah, this was one actual legit match. So despite, as you said, the shenanigans at the end, but I liked how well Mark Henry got over in this, how well he looked in the ring. Something else that is going to look really good in the ring. We'll get to that after Tiger Ali Singh enters.
High beams.
Here, yes. Tiger was here to do his usual shtick of degrading American men, which he does, including American women, too. He's an equal opportunity offender. But the theme here for the challenge tonight is that Babu, Servant Babu, has been eating sardines for days. And sure enough, he's eating a bunch of sardines there in the ring, and it was fucking disgusting. Tiger Ali Singh is going to pay a woman, any woman in the crowd, $500 to French kiss Babu for a 5-second count with Tiger Ali Singh doing the counting. By God. So he delegates Babu to go pick somebody, and Babu has some great taste for this one. Babu selected a smoking hot chick from the crowd. She was wearing nothing but a wife beater undershirt as her top, which you could totally see through, to come up to the ring, and I was just sitting here thanking Babu for his wisdom. I think he's the real brains of the outfit here. Tiger laid out the rules for what was going to happen, and then I popped when Tiger said, "Let the tongue kissing commence." I don't know why I loved that so much, but the whole thing I loved. It was fantastic. This poor chick, she went for it. She wanted the money. Tongue deep, both of them, just going to town on Babu there in the ring. Tiger was counting. He kept stopping the clock to yell at the crowd and really draw out it should have been a 5-second count, ended up being probably 8 or 9, maybe even 10. But it just got even better then when the Undertaker and Kane came out to give it to both Babu and Tiger. That chick got out of the ring. It almost looked like she left 1 or 2 of the $100 bills there in the ring. I wasn't quite sure. I was hoping she got paid.
Hopefully someone collected that for her.
She certainly earned it by both making out with Babu and being dressed the way she was.
Right.
And that was what ended this segment. So I do want to pause here. I have been enjoying Tiger, but I think this is the best Tiger segment yet. Joe, what did you think of it?
Again, I don't remember this angle at all from back in 98. But again, I feel like this is something that would do well today in 2025. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the same exact angles, but this embarrassment of Americans will do anything for money type of gimmick. I think it really holds up for me. This was hilarious. The sardines, just chowing down on those sardines was great. So yeah, this is fun to watch, but I'm assuming it's not going to last very long because, like I said, I just do not recall this at all.
Well, he's going to have to step in the ring at some point.
Yeah. Then the bell rang type of thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. But I'm in complete agreement with both of you. This was hilarious. This would still work today. It worked then. This is something that gets the crowd involved. They stay interested in it. They're not sitting on their hands, not paying attention. I think everyone got a kick out of this. This woman comes down, and it looks like they must keep it pretty chilly in that arena. But good segment, ends with what we've been seeing constantly tonight. Undertaker and Kane comes out. And I have it marked here. It must not have been the other segment. This is where JR called them the Brothers of Destruction. Okay. So it was during this segment.
Okay. You want to keep talking about it? It was great. We can spend some time. We can spend the next 4 minutes and 44 seconds on it. Or should we just get through this?
I would like to at least thank the newspaper ad for finding
whoever took that ad out.
Yeah.
Needs a raise.
Yeah. Good call.
Pun intended.
All right, let's just get through our next match. Southern Justice defeat the Headbangers by pinfall in 4 minutes and 44 seconds. This is one of those 2 or 3 matches that were an actual match that ended correctly. And I don't even know what to say about this other than it felt like a Saturday morning instead of a Saturday night. Dennis Knight, the former Phineas Godwin, who is just a sloppy piece of shit. I can't think of a better way to put it. And I'm sure this guy is perfectly nice, and I don't mean that as a personal slight to him, but has he ever picked up a fucking dumbbell? It seems like all he does is just stand there and fucking eat. He doesn't have any muscle mass. All he has is a gut. Yes, thank you. He's Buddy Landell.
Haven't got to bust out in a while.
I don't know what else to say about him. How the hell did he get in the professional wrestling business looking this way? Whatever. Dennis won this with a finisher called the Problem Solver. I'm sure that'll stick around forever. And that's all I had on this. Ryan, what'd you think of it?
Not much. Southern Justice, they really have not transitioned from the Godwins well at all. The Godwins, they at least had a coherent character, where now, what the fuck are they? Are they bouncers? Are they mercenaries? Are they just Southern tough guys? Like, I don't get what the fuck their deal is now, and it's stupid. Henry, or whatever the fuck, Mark Canterbury, his real name, he still looks solid enough in the ring when he's in there. That's never been the problem, but this gimmick just is not working for anyone. They have them out here wrestling the fucking Headbangers, who we haven't seen them in the ring in God knows how long. The Headbangers job out here, but anyone that's been listening for a while knows we could have given the Headbangers Jobber of the Week 12 or 13 times at this point, but they got it years and years and years ago as like the Spiders or something.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of filler on the card here.
Yeah, I just have boring as fuck. I think this was one of the most boring matches I've watched on these Raw episodes in a long time. And yeah, the Headbangers, they suck. They're jobbers, and what's weird is I felt like I remembered them being a bigger part of the Attitude Era, but they are not. They're total jobbers and they suck.
Yeah.
All right. Me too. It's funny that you mentioned that because I hadn't put words to it, but I think you're right. I thought that I remembered them being a much bigger part of things than what they are.
Yeah. And when I say much bigger, I feel like we were seeing them every week back in the day.
Yeah.
They felt like that regular appearance every week, but that's not the case. When we're rewatching these, they are barely on.
Maybe they start showing back up more often again. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, but they're just so bottom of the barrel now at this point. Like, it'd be hard to do that.
I think for me at least, I may be chalking this up to back in the day, we would watch on Monday nights, but I would still watch Saturday mornings with my cousins. And that's really where the Headbangers have been, is Saturday mornings.
Shotgun Saturday night as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe in my mind, maybe I'm just conflating the two. I don't know. But you would think, especially with this being the Attitude Era, that they've got a good gimmick for their time and place. So what's the deal? What's happening here? Backstage, The Undertaker and Kane had arrived to Vince McMahon's office. It sure did take them a long time to find it. The door to which Kane opened with a sledgehammer. I thought that was a pretty cool scene. But Vince wasn't there, and we moved along to our next match. D'Lo Brown versus X-Pac ends in a no contest in 3 minutes and 30 seconds, with D'Lo retaining the WWF European Championship as a result. I couldn't hear or understand where D'Lo was being hailed from going into this. That made me a little sad. I wanted to know which European city he was from this time. This was really decent to watch, up to the point where Jeff Jarrett interrupted it. And that was followed by Kane and The Undertaker coming out pretty quickly after that. And the surprise here, though, was that The Rock came down to defend D'Lo, which got Rocky the chokeslam while D'Lo ran out of the ring. Joe, you mentioned it earlier with the promo with The Rock and Mark Henry, but here is where I had noted that I smell the end of the nation pretty soon, I think. There's enough things going on now that I'm calling it on the horizon there. And that's it. Another setup match. We got a view of the newly shorn Jeff Jarrett, as well as a surprise save from The Rock, and he's setting up some discontent in the future for us to enjoy. Joe, what else did you have on this?
Yeah, I thought D'Lo Brown and X-Pac, this is going to be a great match, but it just had a different point to it, I guess. Tonight it wasn't going to be a great match, but from what we did see, it was good. And I love D'Lo playing with the crowd a little bit now. He's yelling, "I don't suck," when they're chanting D'Lo sucks, and then he just destroys X-Pac with a couple of moves and says, "Who sucks now?" I love him playing with the crowd. I think that's good for him. And world's slowest count by Earl Hebner to allow Jeff Jarrett to run in. I'm like, holy shit, this is bad.
He basically looked up like, where are you at?
Yeah. Where the hell are you? You're right, Bartlett. Yeah, this was another little taste of this possible breakup of the nation. And this type of angle here is what makes you want to tune in next week to see what's going to happen with these guys, with D'Lo just leaving The Rock out there to get destroyed. And pretty good timing, too, because the Godfather is probably still in the ICU at this point.
Right.
From his Brawl for All injuries. So he's out. Mark Henry's going to maybe do his own little thing here. And D'Lo's the European champ, so he's got a good thing going with some of these matches against X-Pac and other guys. So pretty good timing on this, too, I have to say.
I was excited for this match. I saw X-Pac versus D'Lo Brown. I was really hoping we were going to be in for a good length match, but unfortunately this was a DQ pretty quick on with Jeff Jarrett coming out with his new haircut, and I guess we're not quite done with this feud yet, but the real point of this whole match was the great storytelling that we got here with D'Lo just hightailing it out of there and leaving The Rock to get destroyed by Kane and The Undertaker. That was great, and the only thing you could think of at that point was The Rock finally going on his own, which Bartlett, they did earlier in the night, or Joe, I forget which one of you brought up when The Rock talked the whole time, but there was something else he did there too. The camera guy started to look away and he like moved and was like, keep it on The Rock.
Yeah.
That is the real point of this whole segment, and I know I'm interested in it. I just wish we could have got a little bit more action between X-Pac and D'Lo, because I think it could have been a really good match.
Yeah, definitely agreed with that. And one of the overarching things that annoyed me about this episode was all of the matches that I could conceivably be interested in were cut short, and the ones that I had zero interest in were not. They went
How long was that Southern Justice Headbangers one again?
4 minutes and 44 seconds.
And that's 4 minutes and 43 seconds too long.
Yes. Here's another one. At least this one ends early. Our next match. Edge versus Mark Marrow with Jackie ends in a no contest in 2 minutes. Damn, Jackie looks great. First note.
Shaking those titties for the crowd.
Yep. I like Edge coming through the crowd. That's a great entrance. Not everybody can pull that off. Edge definitely can. I just don't like Edge loitering in the crowd and blocking access to amenities. So if we're done with that and sticking to just having the entrance through the crowd, then I think I'm going to be happy with this.
Well, yeah, but all that rapport he's built up with the crowd is what allows him to make that crowd entrance now.
All those people that he pissed off blocking their glizzy access. Wrasslin Raw brought to you by Hippie Dogs. So the no contest came from Gangrel interrupting the match to attack Edge. They had a great little roll around in the ring there. Marrow was leaving pretty quickly, but got intercepted by the Undertaker and Kane up at the top of the ramp. And that's where this ended. So again, another setup match here. Hard to say really much more than that. Ryan, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, not much to really speak of here, other than if I'm either one of these two wrestlers, I'm probably a bit disappointed that as the match starts, the crowd is cheering for Sable, who's not even at ringside. That's got to feel just a little bit shitty inside. But other than that, setup match, I want to see more Gangrel and Edge. Obviously, in hindsight, we know where that's going, which makes that more exciting. But match itself, another filler throwaway.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this before. I love commentary always selling that Jackie and Mark Marrow are just always railing each other, like all the time, everywhere.
Lewd.
Yeah, like tonight they mentioned they made a video.
Yeah.
JR says they have a very hands-on relationship. It's just funny they're not in a real relationship, but commentary just oversells it, and it just makes me laugh every time. But I really like seeing Edge during this time period. I can't think of the last time that we saw a debut with someone that has this good of a look. to him. Like he enters through the crowd, which is really cool looking. He has good music.
Mantar, maybe.
Yeah. He has good entrance music. And he just has a good look to him. He just looks like a cool looking dude.
He has a modern look.
Yes,
it
for
fits
that
in with
time.
that time.
Yeah, for that time, for sure. He doesn't have some stupid fucking Mantar gimmick or some other stupid shit. I really like seeing him in the ring. It doesn't matter what happens in the match. I think it's just cool for those live crowds to see someone like that. And having Gangrel come in and interfere is just, again, tickling our taints with what's happening with these two, with this storyline. So hopefully they'll keep that going for a little bit too.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to where that goes. We've mentioned it before, how you look back on this stuff in hindsight, and I'm curious to see how it holds up, the whole vampire thing. We know that the Brood and the Ministry and everything holds up, but it's neat to watch this build up here.
Christian's got to be debuting any day now, right? Because he's going to team up with Edge before they join the Brood.
He teams up with Gangrel, I thought, because that was.
Does he team up with Gangrel first?
Yeah, I thought that was the story. Is that Christian is Edge's brother, and Gangrel has stolen Christian and seduced him to the dark side, and that's why Edge and Gangrel hate each other. I think.
I couldn't remember exactly how it came about.
Yeah,
I know we're obviously close.
This is the first time I've thought about the finer points of the story in approximately 25 years, so take it with a grain of salt. Something that I did not remember happening, and I really am surprised I didn't, is JR sitting down with Al Snow for a 2-part interview, much the same way he did with Mick Foley and Dustin Runnels. And I don't really have any notes on this specifically other than to say that I thought it was decent. It was really nothing to write home about, but it did a pretty good job of putting Al Snow on our screens to talk for a little bit. But really, I wanted to know, Joe, what you thought of this, because you're on the record as not being a fan of Al Snow, and this was one of the better times that we've had Al talking for us, and I was just curious if this moved your needle at all on him.
Yeah, I have mentioned that in the past, and I'm also willing to give someone a second chance, apparently, because I thought I would hate this, but I did not.
Oh,
I thought this was great. These JR interviews back in the day, can they just elevate guys. The Dustin Runnels ones were shitty because of the content that we were dealing with. No, I thought this was great. I thought this made Al Snow look a little bit more serious than goofy. Yeah, he's being goofy, talking to the head, and JR is really pointing that out a lot. How are people going to take you seriously if you're talking to a mannequin? And all those questions. But I thought Al Snow came off as a little bit more serious in this. I really popped when he asked JR if he believes in God and was asking him all those other questions. I have to give him credit for that. I thought this was a good segment for him. Now, this is part 1, right? Didn't they say this was a 2-parter? So hopefully they'll keep it going in part 2 and not ruin it, because I thought this was a really good portrayal of Al Snow.
Yeah, I agree for the most part. I don't know if I would say I absolutely loved it, but I thought they did a very good job with it. And when you compare it to the Mankind one, it's like the SummerSlam ladder match. It's good. It was great. But when you compare it to the Mick Foley one, it's not even really in the same league. That one is one of the most classic moments in wrestling where I completely forgot he even did this interview with JR. But I do think in both Mankind's interview and Al Snow's, it helps humanize these crazier, more cartoon characters. And so I do agree with you completely with that, Joe, that it helped make Al a more sympathetic and realistic character and not just this crazy, stupid guy who talks to a head. One of my favorite parts, though, was they showed the former gimmicks that Al Snow did in the WWF and insinuated that was what made him go crazy. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, I thought this did a great job. Not quite as good as the Mankind one, but that's going to be pretty tough to beat. So good job.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that this did was if you're someone who just watches WWF, you don't watch ECW, they did a good job of explaining his rise in ECW. And gave a good background on that, even showing footage and that sort of thing. So I thought that was really well done as well.
Yeah, agreed on that too. Throwing the Dustin Runnels interview out for obvious reasons.
You can't win them all.
Right.
And we haven't seen it yet, but there's that Triple H one that's super well known about calling himself the Game and all that stuff. All those interviews back then were just real needle movers, if you will.
Yeah, I especially liked, well, obviously the one for Mankind, but this one I tend to chalk up more in that same vein where we're in the Attitude Era. We're all about reality and trying to make things as reality-based as possible while kayfabing it. And I think that that's probably the best thing that these interviews do is they give you a kayfabe behind-the-scenes look. So it's supposed to be this intimate, non-over-the-top discussion with these characters, but they're still maintaining kayfabe throughout it so that the kayfabe starts to blur the reality. And it plays really nicely with some of these more, we'll say, exotic characters like Al Snow, like Mankind, and it really helps to maintain the realness of somebody that wears a leather mask or talks to a mannequin head. And it doesn't do that same effect with somebody like Dustin Runnels, who talks about how shitty his life is, or I don't know, whatever.
In Dakota.
And his child Dud-Coda. I don't remember the Triple H one. I'm looking forward to seeing that now that you've brought it up. But I think these intimate interviews especially work well for these exotic gimmicks. So, oh God, speaking of exotic gimmicks, let's go into our next match. The Oddities defeat, my research had this listed as Darren Drozdoff and Road Warrior Animal by pinfall in 1 minute and 37 seconds, but Hawk was
definitely
here
had
too.
Hawk in it. Yeah, it was a 3-on-4 match, wasn't it?
I don't know. This one lost me pretty quickly. Not just my attention span, but Drunk Hawk was here at ringside wearing civvies and his LOD helmet, dancing around. He took the helmet off, tried to dance with ICP, and then attacked them. And it really quickly fell apart from there. Like I said, it was only 1 minute and 37 seconds. The only thing that I really enjoyed was whenever Hawk was drunk and just getting into the mix, Luna standing at the outside screeching, "Ah, what's happening? He's all messed up!" From the future. And this is where I got confused because, again, my research billed this as Darren Drozdoff and Road Warrior Animal, but Hawk is who took the pinfall. I don't know. Talk about a throwaway match. We could have added a minute and a half to D-Lo versus X-Pac, and we all would have been better for it, but instead we've got this. Joe, what did you think of it?
Yeah, basically a total throwaway from a wrestling standpoint here, but I've never been down with the clown, if you will, or been into the Stranglemania or any of that stuff, but ICP, they were taking some pretty good bumps here for Hawk. I thought they did a nice job of looking like they were getting their asses kicked by a roided out drunk guy. So I thought that was pretty good. And this part of the Drunk Hawk storyline I can get behind because this was pretty funny. He was tagging the wrong team and trying to lift guys up and just basically dropping them on top of him. I thought some of that was pretty funny, and obviously this was not really intended to be a match that people are going to be talking about the next day. It was just really trying to further along this Drunk Hawk storyline.
I also was never really a big ICP fan, but I did love Stranglemania.
Whoop whoop.
Me and Bartlett watched Strangle. I couldn't tell you how many times we fucking watched that video.
I wore out my VHS, yeah.
So that I loved, but their music was, I was never a fan, I guess we'll say. But they did take some good bumps here. Other than that, complete throwaway. This is the definition of a throwaway match. Hawk came out here, stumbled around. He had on some Zubaz pants. To be honest, I had to contemplate because the way it ended so quickly and with Hawk just getting jobbed out, I almost gave LOD 2000 Jobber of the Week. I was contemplating it, but I ended up stopping just because this is part of the storyline that he's drunk. So it's not, I guess, that he jobbed out.
Yeah.
It's part of his story to go further. So I didn't crush my young childhood love of LOD and give LOD 2000 Jobber of the Week. So I resisted that.
Yeah. You guys both mentioned ICP taking bumps here, and I'm with you, Ryan, on this one. As much as I loved watching Stranglemania, I was never really about ICP. There was I think I could maybe name one or two songs and know how they sound.
The Great Malenko.
Yeah.
Because it was enormous.
Great Malenko, and I think there's the one about chicken hunting. Let's go chicken hunting, something like that. But that's about the end of it. But I will say that I knew back at this time in 1998, they were really heavily into the whole wrestling thing, so much so that ICP were actually training as wrestlers and went on tour. I know that because I bought tickets to an ICP, I think they were calling it Stranglemania event. Me and a guy that I used to work with, Joe, you may have known him. I'll tell you whenever we're done recording if you'd like to know, but I worked with him at McDonald's back in the day, and we bought tickets together and drove down to the Metropole in Pittsburgh where this ICP wrestling event was going to be happening. And of course, back then we didn't have like really reliable, strong internet, and we drove all the way down there only to find out that Shaggy 2 Dope had his face literally caved in the previous night, and so they had canceled the whole event. Yeah, because ICP was on like half of the card. They brought in wrestlers, and then they themselves were also jumping in and joining these matches, and I think Shaggy 2 Dope had caved in his orbital or something like that. He literally had his face collapsed in the previous night.
Was Mabel wrestling him?
Yeah.
No.
Or did you get hit with a wrench?
Maybell. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it was more akin to a wrench than Maybell, but
world's largest wrench to the face.
Yeah, that was a pretty good time that night. Even though we got dicked out of seeing a hardcore show, my friend that I was with got gas station sushi and became violently ill from it. So I never forgot that.
That's what's going to happen if you eat gas station sushi.
Yep. I'll never forget it. So, moving on. That's the most joy I got out of watching this match, was reminiscing about going down to the Metropole to get dicked out of hardcore wrestling. All right, so next up, The Undertaker and Kane, they were backstage roaming around, and they found an unfortunate cable puller. The guy was literally...
looked like a teenager.
He was literally pulling cables when they found him. And they tossed him through some detritus that was laying around backstage.
Hopefully someone came in to relieve him and pulled that cable.
Start working on him, at least. And that took us into our next match. Too Much defeats Los Boricuas, in this case Jesus Castillo and Miguel Sasquatch Perez, by pinfall in 5 minutes and 6 seconds.
This match gets a clean pinfall.
My first note, with everything else going on tonight, why do we get this for 5 minutes with a clean finish? And that is my only note. Ryan, please, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, my thoughts were, really? Los Boricuas is still a fucking team? Especially after Edge broke one of their necks? I guess he must be healed up at this point, because I'm pretty sure one of the guys here tonight was who had his neck broken by Edge.
Yeah, I think it was Jesus.
JR still loves bringing up that Brian Christopher is the king's son, so we get that for quite a bit. To me, the highlight, especially for anyone that listens to JR's podcast, was the King asked JR where he got this information that Brian Christopher is his son. JR told him on the internet, that's where the dirt's at. I love the dirt. I can't get enough of the dirt. Just the way he was saying that, all I could think of is his modern podcast and him bitching about people that love the dirt. But here, he was the one. He was the one in love with the dirt. So that was my highlight of this match.
Yeah, a couple things JR did was the highlight for me too. He said that boy, that'd be good bait for the Undertaker and Kane. Those two punks talking about too much, which very accurate. He's not wrong there. The crowd is just dead for this, and I do have to say though, I like what I see from Too Much. The tag team, they are in those early formation days, like we saw with the New Age Outlaws for a couple months there before they joined DX and really hit a new stride.
They're working well as a tag team together.
They are, and they're extremely annoying together. Like you want to see them get their ass kicked. I mean, that's what heels are meant to do. So they're definitely on their way to something better soon. And yeah, they're still doing that Jerry's Kid angle, and I have to think that's got to be Vince or Bruce just screaming in JR's headset to do it at this point. Yeah. And JR also tells us that Austin is going to be on Heat tomorrow. So I'm starting to get pissed off because does that mean that Austin is not going to show up tonight? That's how I took that when he announced that. So I know it's a Raw Saturday night, but like if I'm watching Raw in 1998, why is Stone Cold Steve Austin not there?
Yeah, what you get instead is 5 minutes.
Scorpio.
Of Los Guericos.
Scorpio.
Yeah, that's our...
Let's go to our main event.
Yeah, our final match of the night. Jeff Jarrett defeats Scorpio by disqualification.
Who
in 4
and
minutes, 54 seconds. Main event.
Main event of a house show.
What you get from a taped show.
So Jarrett started this off by saying to Scorpio, "Don't even look me in the eyes, you'll just piss me off." To which JR replied, "Well, I wonder who cares." And that just set the tone for me. And that's all I had on the match itself. Thankfully, the finish was X-Pac running in to attack Double J, drawing the DQ. I'm hoping that we get more of that feud in the future because they did look good at SummerSlam. Jeff was not really looking good here against Scorpio. Not sure why. Scorpio looked decent, but really the whole situation was more confusing than entertaining. Kane and The Undertaker showed up right after that finish to mop things up with Scorpio there in the ring. And just as Scorpio was getting smeared with a spike tombstone, Vince McMahon appeared at the top of the ramp looking just as pleased as punch. And once The Undertaker and Kane saw him, they started in Vince's direction as we faded to black. So like I said, both Scorpio and Jarrett, they looked decent enough in this, and thankfully it was more of a setup match for X-Pac and Double J as well as Kane and The Undertaker, because otherwise I was wondering just why the fuck Jarrett was back at the bottom of the card and yet somehow at the top of the card at the same time. Joe, what did you think of this match and the way the Raw ended tonight?
Yeah, I thought X-Pac running in and them fighting through the crowd, him and Jeff Jarrett, was a nice way to get to the end of this. And then Vince McMahon cheering on Kane and Undertaker from the top of the ramp was a nice touch. But overall, just what a week ending, what a week show all around. Yeah. But again, it is Raw Saturday night. And I think at one point, JR mentioned that it was midnight for one of these matches early on. So the time slot must have just killed it as well. So I guess with that considered, we got a little bit of good stuff tonight, but this was mostly just trash.
Yeah, this is not how you end a Raw. We've been saying, I think, for a good month now, what a good job they've been doing, at least ending the show, where maybe the rest of Raw was weak, but they would give us some real red meat at the end. Here, we have Double J, who they're trying to give a revived push to. I'm not sure how you do that by putting him up against a bottom rung guy like Scorpio. I love Scorpio, but Jeff is already in the basement. So you have him step on Scorpio, he's going down a little bit even further down that ladder. So I don't understand that. Obviously, it's a DQ, so we could further this thing with X-Pac, but a really weak ending to the show. The best part, again, was Undertaker and Kane, and then Vince McMahon's reaction up top. That's the last thing which I guess we end on that does at least has a little bit of that factor of wanting to bring you back next week to see what is he just so happy about. Is it just that he got Kane and Undertaker pissed off again? So that's intriguing, but the match is not main event material. That's for damn sure.
Wow. Well, what a way to put it. Excellent turn of phrase, and I think I'm going to try to hold on to that one for the future. Not main event material here. You're absolutely right. Well, guys, let's get the hell away from that. As I said, we faded to black, so let's take it on over to highlights and lowlights. Joe, why don't you take that first?
I think for my low light, I'm going to go with no Steve Austin on the show. And it makes me wonder now if Scorpio was supposed to be Austin. And maybe this was one of those times where Austin said, I don't want to work with Jeff Jarrett. It would have made a lot more sense if Kane and The Undertaker are destroying Austin and Vince is happy about it at the ramp. Like it just doesn't make any sense to have them destroy Scorpio, who is completely meaningless in all of this story.
But
so
you would think, do you go from Austin to Scorpio?
Right.
Like there's a giant sloth of people back there to pick from in between Austin and Scorpio.
Yeah, it could have been Taka. He's a champion.
Yes, it could have been Taka.
That's my low light. I'll give them a little bit of a pass on this show just because, again, it was Saturday night. They got screwed by the U.S. Open and had to change some things. But my highlight is going to be the little seeds that were planted of a possible nation breakup. And it has to be a month or two or maybe longer that they decided that The Rock is going to be the next big opponent for Steve Austin because they took the IC title off of him at SummerSlam. And now they're already planting these seeds of a nation split. So that is my highlight for tonight.
So my highlight is going to be from the beginning of the show, Vince McMahon, him setting up The Undertaker and Kane and Undertaker and Kane's actions throughout the whole evening. This was pretty much an entire Raw dedicated to trying to show that Kane and The Undertaker are not two putrid pussies. So I think that worked, but not much else worked in this episode. My low light is going to be DQ and no contest because that's pretty much all we got all night, and it led to some really weak points of this episode. So that's my low light.
Yeah, I was pretty down on this episode all around. So, Joe, you make a really great point about the teasing the nation breakup, but at the time of making my notes, I didn't even think of that. I went with, as my highlight, just Kane and The Undertaker showing up to smear people.
I thought you were going to say the boobs.
Well, now. Can't go that low class here.
The sardine boobs.
Speaking of highlights.
But as far as it goes, Kane and The Undertaker showing up to smear people is a great way to just emphasize that we are past the Cahoots storyline. We're past the shitty build-up and we are starting something new here. So I liked that. Low light, the rest of the episode. I didn't like this episode. I did not enjoy watching a good chunk of it. I thought so much of it was just really poorly done. And you're very gracious to be able to say that it's because it's a Saturday night. I didn't even try to justify it like that. I just put that it sucked.
Yeah, it seemed like outside of them getting Undertaker and Kane here,
nobody else showed up.
The rest of it was the B squad.
Yeah.
B and C squad. Yeah.
They had to be careful back then with what they put on TV for free if it's in a time slot where there's not a lot of people watching it. People still talk about Eric Bischoff, how stupid he is for putting Goldberg and Hogan on for free on a Monday night. So, I guess they just had to be super careful back then with what kind of show they were going to put on depending on the time slot.
So we get a Scorpio main event.
Yeah, because if it's on at fucking 1 a.m. on a Saturday,
no big loss.
Don't want to blow your wad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Joseph, so depending on how you want to do this, you may have some contemporary wrestling news from on and around August 31st, or you may have some from on and around September 5th. I leave it to you, sir.
What I do is I have to look at the news from the week after, typically, because Meltzer reports on whatever is happening on our date the following week. So this news is actually from September 7th from the Wrestling Observer. And Dave Meltzer, if you remember, a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that Vince McMahon was on the AOL chat room again, and he was praising Ric Flair, which Meltzer thought that was a little strange, but apparently Ric Flair is returning to WCW after a nearly 5-month legal battle with WCW. So that must have been why Vince was trying to maybe court Ric Flair a little bit here. But Ric Flair has been off TV since April, and he's going to return to WCW, so he will not be moving to WWF. Now, during the Tiger Ali Singh segment tonight, there must have been some really good editing for TV that was performed here, because fans were shouting, "Show your tits," to the woman that was making out with Babu. And
she dumped him
She
out.
did flash the crowd 3 times, according to Dave Meltzer. And then Babu then started kissing her breasts.
Oh.
So a little bit of...
Things got really raunchy.
Yeah.
That changed direction real fast for me.
A little bit
I was
X-rated there.
With those sardine
lips. Oh,
yes,
God.
that's why I said sardine boobs earlier.
Oily.
Speaking of sardine boobs, Sable is going to be filming an episode of Pacific Blue this week. And that is for sure going to be nominated for an Emmy for guest appearance. There are rumors that Triple H and China will be getting married soon. We know how that ends up. So that's totally a rumor. The stars of the last WWF camp were Kurt Angle, Andrew Martin, which we know as Test, and Jay Riso. Do you guys know who Jay Riso is?
Is that Prince Albert?
No, good guess though. That would be Christian, who Ryan mentioned earlier tonight. Okay. So those were the 3 standouts at the camp. Okay. Steve Austin, as Vince McMahon mentioned, I think, on tonight's Raw, Steve Austin was on Regis and Kathy Lee. He was there on August 31st, and he was there mostly plugging the new WWF CD. Lou Albano. We haven't seen him in a while. I know.
Thank God.
He was backstage at Madison Square Garden at SummerSlam, and
of course he was.
Well, Dave Meltzer reporting that he wound up falling on his face and needed to be revived.
Jesus Christ.
No. Revived?
Revived was the
Worked
word.
on.
Now, again,
this
is
his heart stopped?
This is Dave Meltzer, so take that for what it's worth.
Revived?
They were working on him, yeah. Him and the cable puller.
God damn. Yeah, they would need to hook the cables up. Kane would have to come over and use some supernatural powers. Damn.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
Legally dead for 53 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, poor Lou. Last piece of news here is Marlena showed up on an indie show with Dustin Runnels in Harrisburg, PA on August 27th. So it sounds like Marlena might be getting back into the wrestling scene, so we might see her again soon.
Okay.
And that is all.
All right. Thank you, Joseph. Illuminating as always. And that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and tell all of your friends to tune in to the most Machiavellian Monday Night Raw review podcast on the airwaves. Next time on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on September 12th, 1998, with matches featuring the DOA, Kai and Tai, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.